I think this guy's days are numbered. I really do. After this issue with the Fitzgerald, they've had 2 or 3 sailors go missing, one missing for a minute and then back. This last one aboard the Statham, they have given up the search for. The way he just casually released classified information during a briefing that wasn't even called for or necessary about where enemy submarines should target Arleigh Burke-class destroyers if they want to knock out all communications and kill a third of the crew in one shot. You can thank this guy right here because he told them how to do it. It's just absolute. There's a kid in prison doing 4 or 5 years because he snapped some random Polaroid aboard a submarine of something that wasn't even really classified. And this guy gave out information that would have gotten anybody else seriously put under scrutiny. And I use that term very, very loosely. It is just beyond comprehension. But as you can see now, we are 6.5, pushing 7 weeks now out after, and people are asking, where's the track of the Fitzgerald? You're never going to see it. Where's the statement from the captain? You're never going to hear it. To this day, there has still not been one single administrative action done against anybody aboard the Fitzgerald, with the statement of the commander being in his quarters, whatever he was doing there. He was medically relieved. He's still technically the captain of the ship. He's temporarily medically relieved. He hasn't been relieved of duty, and they haven't taken away his command. It's only while he medically convalesces. And this, these reports you're hearing about this slew of mistakes, folks. Preliminary findings in the investigation into the accident between the warship and the ACX Crystal on June 17th suggest the Navy crew made multiple errors, 2 defense officials unnamed told CNN. I have yet to find this report anywhere. If someone out there would like to enlighten me or send me a link, a PDF, anything of this report everybody keeps referencing where the Navy is at fault and all this, I would love to see it. I have looked and looked and looked and looked, and I don't see any official report anywhere, at least it's made available to the public. But apparently, you know, CNN being the wizards they are, they were more than excited to be able to make our Navy boys look like they're a bunch of idiots. It just makes me sick, and I'm just not gonna tolerate it here at the channel. I don't care if this is the only channel that ever covers it. We're going to continue to cover it. We're going to continue to look into it, and I don't care what anybody says about it. Now, I found it odd that the Chinese were looking for the guy. I'm not really sure what they were attempting there, but if you can guarantee if they found him, they're not going to tell us about it. Because this guy wasn't some low-level E2 or E3. This guy apparently was a lieutenant. He was an officer that went missing. And with what we uncovered the last video about the movements of the Fitzgerald and the Shiloh and the shady stuff that's going on in the 7th Fleet, we got a Muslim former Navy spec ops working in logistics. There could be all sorts of crazy stuff going on over there, but the one thing I wanted to cover in this video was something Rex Tillerson said in, no, and I don't want this to get about politics too much, but he was talking about this issue with North Korea, and I want you to hear his words so nobody thinks I'm misquoting him, and I'm just going to play this for you here real quick.
We've been very clear with the Chinese. We certainly don't blame the Chinese for the situation in North Korea. Only the North Koreans are to blame for this situation. But we do believe China has a special and unique relationship because of this significant economic activity to influence the North Korean regime in ways that no one else can. And that's why we continue to call upon them to use that influence with North Korea to create the conditions where we can have a productive dialogue We don't think having a dialogue where the North Koreans come to the table assuming they're going to maintain their nuclear weapons is productive. So that's really what the objective that we are about is. We have reaffirmed our position towards North Korea, that what we are doing, we do not seek a regime change. We do not seek the collapse of the regime. We do not seek an accelerated reunification of the peninsula. We do not seek an excuse to send our military north of the 38th parallel. And we're trying to convey to the North Koreans, we are not your enemy. We're not your threat. But you.
That's bullshit. I'm sorry, but that's bullshit. We absolutely do want regime change. We do want the collapse of that regime, and we are their enemy. If you can't stand up and say that, you need to pack it in, folks. These people are evil incarnate, and they have been since before I was even in the military years and years ago. This isn't about some kind of a political disagreement. I mean, you folks remember this? I mean, these people were terrorists before the terrorists were terrorists. I mean, they were assassinating South Korean officials in 1983. And even Reagan addressed it in a couple of different speeches. And I don't know how you square what Tillerson said with this, or with what Pompeo said. And I'm not going to cover that, but Pompeo is pretty much completely opposite about that. It's like, you know, North Koreans' days are numbered, at least that particular regime's days are numbered. You know, this parsing of words of how we're going to separate that regime from its ability to deliver this ICBM or nuclear weapons is just baloney. I don't know if they're trying to pull this, you know, good cop, bad cop, or they're trying to feign in one direction so they think something else is going. But when you announce 30 days ahead of time that your citizens are being asked to leave the country and that we're not going to be allowed, they're not going to be allowed to go there, that's pretty much telegraphing. That's pretty much beyond a red line. I mean, you're pretty much saying, North Korea, you got 30 days to hide all of your stuff because we're going to send bombers. Or some equivalent thereof. So I really don't, if someone can enlighten me as to what Mr. Tillerson was attempting to say to the Koreans about how we're basically their best friends, as long as they just come to the table and talk to us. It's Bizarro world to me. I don't get it. I mean, when Reagan launched on Gaddafi, he came out and said, look, we launched on Gaddafi because Gaddafi's a terrorist. And Gaddafi's killed people, and he's killed Americans, and it's not in the American tradition, I think was the word, to put up with that kind of crap. Paraphrasing there, of course. And this guy, you know, wants to telegraph to the Koreans that we're not their enemy and that we are perfectly fine with their regime just as it is, and we don't want it changed, and we don't want it collapsed, and, you know, we just want to have good relations with it. What? With the North Koreans, as they stand right now. That's the official policy of the current administration, that the current regime in North Korea is perfectly A-okay with them. I guess I'm just going to need some help from the people that come to my comments section to enlighten me as to what Mr. Tillerson's point was there, and how he can square with what Mike Pompeo said. And I'll see if I can find a link to what Pompeo said and put it down in the description so that you can juxtapose the two and see what the hell's going on. So, but this issue with the Fitzgerald is not going to go away, and that we have 7 sailors, 7 families that deserve to be Gold Star families, 7 Purple Hearts that haven't been awarded. This channel is going to keep going, and we're going to keep talking about it, because this isn't happening in a vacuum, and we'll have to see what happens 1st of September, but I appreciate everyone's support. I appreciate everyone's input into this. Like, share, subscribe. We will see you next time.